They always tell you to stay away from houses that have been empty for too long. They say a house isn't meant to be lonely. If humans don't fill it with life, something else will move into the empty space. I never believed those stories. Until I bought the old estate on Blackwood Lane. It was a massive, beautiful Victorian house, surrounded by dead oak trees, right on the outskirts of a small town in Maine. The price was dirt cheap. The real estate agent seemed desperate to get rid of it. She didn't even look me in the eye when she handed over the keys. I thought I got the deal of a lifetime. I was wrong. The first few days were normal. Just the usual creaks and groans of an old wooden house settling in the cold autumn night. But on the fourth night, the rain started. It was a heavy, relentless downpour that cut off the power lines. The house fell into absolute darkness, illuminated only by the occasional flash of lightning through the tall windows. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting for sleep to take me. That's when I heard it. A faint, scratching sound. It wasn't on the roof and it wasn't outside. It was coming from inside the wall, right behind my headboard. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I sat up, turning on my phone's flashlight. Rats, I muttered to myself. But as soon as the words left my mouth, the scratching stopped. Replacing it was a sound that made the hair on my arms stand up. It was a breath. A long, slow, raspy exhale from inside the wall. And then a whisper. It was too faint to understand, but it sounded like a cold wind passing through a graveyard. The next night, the whispers grew louder. I couldn't sleep. I took my flashlight and walked down the long, dark hallway of the second floor. The air in the hallway was freezing, so cold that I could see my own breath. The whispering was following me. It wasn't just in my bedroom anymore. It was moving through the walls, traveling alongside me as I walked. Help me, it sounded like a woman's voice, distorted and hollow. It's so tight in here, it's so dark. My heart was hammering against my chest. I pressed my ear against the wallpaper of the hallway. The wood beneath the paper felt vibrating, as if something were pacing back and forth inside the narrow gap between the drywall and the bricks. Suddenly, a violent thud slammed against the wall right where my ear was. I jumped back, dropping my flashlight. In the brief moment before the light flickered out, I saw the wallpaper bulge outward, as if a human hand were trying to push through the solid wall from the inside. The next morning I couldn't take it anymore. I went to the local town library to research the history of the house. What I found in the old newspaper archives froze my blood. In 1974, a young woman named Clara went missing from that very house. She was married to a wealthy, deeply disturbed architect. The architect claimed she ran away and left him. But 3 months later he lost his mind, screaming that the walls wouldn't stop talking to him, before taking his own life. The case was never solved. Clara was never found. I realized with horror where Clara was. She hadn't run away. I rushed back to the house, grabbed a heavy crowbar from my garage, and went up to the second-floor hallway. I started tearing down the drywall, swinging the crowbar with madness. Dust and plaster flew everywhere. The whispers in the walls turned into frantic, weeping cries, echoing all around me. Yes, open it, break it. Finally, the crowbar cracked through the final layer of old brickwork, revealing a hidden hollow cavity inside the thick structure of the house. A foul, icy wind rushed out of the opening, carrying the scent of decay. I shone my phone light into the darkness of the hidden space. There, propped up against the inner wooden beams, was a skeletal figure. It was wrapped in the remains of a 1970s dress. Clara. Her skull was tilted upward, her jaw locked open in a permanent scream. I stumbled backward, tears streaming down my face, suffocating on my own breath. I took out my phone to call the police. My hands were shaking violently. But as I dialed the numbers, the house went completely silent. The crying stopped. The scratching stopped. Then my phone screen flickered. The call dropped. A shadow shifted inside the dark hole I had just broken into the wall. I watched in absolute horror as the skeletal head slowly turned toward me. The empty black eye socket stared directly into my soul. And then, from the darkness of that hole, a new voice whispered. But it wasn't Clara's voice anymore. It was a deep, demonic growl that echoed from every single wall of the house simultaneously. Thank you for opening the door. Now it's your turn to fit inside. The heavy wooden doors of the hallway slammed shut on their own. The flashlight died. And in the pitch black, the scratching started again, right behind me.